Welcome to Figure Skating Land. This is your host, Jilly. Join me as I go over some tips and info about this upcoming Worlds in Boston. But beforehand, don't forget to like and subscribe for more figure skating related content. I don't know about y'all, but it feels like Christmas Eve, just waiting for Worlds coming up. I have one more work day and then I'll be on a flight to Boston. In terms of getting there, once you get to the airport, Boston has a lot of different public transportation options. I used to live in Portland, Maine, so I'm a little bit familiar with just kind of getting around Boston. Though I have to admit, my friend and I, hilariously, when we went to watch the Summer Sizzler skating event, we were unsure if we were getting on a train or subway. So if I can haphazardly do this, so can you, believe me. So there is a commuter rail. And so that is if you stay outside of the Boston area, well, maybe like the Boston proper. The T is what a lot of people will be using to get around. And once you get to the airport, if your hotel is near TD Garden, according to TD Garden's website, you can just get on the T and it says take the blue line and you're going to have 4 stops and you're going to get off at the government center, switch to the green line, which has 2 stops. Then you're going to get to North Station. And so that is some tips for if you're coming from the airport and your hotel happens to be nearby. Now, I just found out that the official figure skating hotel is not going to be as close to TD Garden. It is the Marriott in Copley. So if you're staying there, you will need to walk to the Back Bay station to get on the T there. Do know, you probably already know this if you're listening to this and planning to go, but most of the hotels in the Boston area, even like right directly outside of Boston, are pretty pricey. So that is something to factor into your budget, kind of regardless of where you stay. In terms of going to a figure skating competition in general, things that you should know. First, wear layers. There are times where I get to an ice rink and it is so cold and I am so miserable and I have immediate regrets for being so ill prepared. On the flip side, though, there are times where I have layered so much and luckily have been able to take a couple layers off and have gotten overheated. It depends on the ice rink, how cold it's going to be, how packed the venue is, and also it seems like certain times a day. I know at Wichita, I was constantly cold. In Columbus, it varied. And in Montreal, I was seated pretty far up. So I was actually warm a little bit, but also Montreal was pretty packed and there was a lot of walking. And when I think of, just TD Garden and how they're going to have us come in and come out, that feels like a lot of walking. And so you do have the risk of getting just a little bit warm there. I also recommend bringing chapstick. It is a cold rink. I am someone that always can get chapped lips easily, dry easily. So I try to bring chapstick. I'll even bring like a little tiny bottle of unscented lotion, just something that can prevent me from drying out like a prune at an ice rink. I also recommend bringing tissues. I can't tell you how many times I always forget. My nose is going to run in this cold ice rink. So bring some tissues as well. I also recommend bringing eye drops. Again, you may not be someone who seems to dry out. I don't know if it's my medicine or just what, but I also will notice that my eyes will just feel like they are dying inside. And also, that's a lot of time staring at a white ice rink. I also recommend bringing a pen just in case you run into any skaters and can get an autograph. But do know that kind of read the room when it comes to approaching skaters. Last year, there was a skater who was devastated after her performance, and people were like mowing her down trying to get a selfie. Just remember that, there are people too. And I guess we're so excited to see them. And I am one that talks and I'm like, get so excited. I'm like, oh, and we'll go run and ask for a selfie. But just know that like some times that are not typically appropriate, like if you see them at a warm up or practice, I still feel guilty for getting so excited seeing Jason Brown after he went through a whole entire, like, I think it was either warm up or practice at nationals. So just keep those things in mind. And also, if it's very close to their competition, or if they do poorly at the competition, or if even if they do well, sometimes they're wanting to kind of soak it in with their family. The best time I have noticed is either after medal ceremonies or at galas where they're just more carefree and ready to go. And one thing I also forgot to mention when talking about like what to wear in layers and stuff, I recommend wearing comfortable shoes, especially for TD Worlds, because there seems to be just a lot of walking. And I'll get into some of the venue rules here in a little bit. But what I noticed at Montreal Worlds, there was so much walking around the concourse. Like my feet were dying. But on the flip side, at Nationals, it felt like there was a little bit less walking, and I was wearing my LL Bean boots just because I was closer to the ice and it was cold. So, what I recommend is if you do have the room in your suitcase to bring comfortable shoes and then maybe some warmer socks, warmer shoes, and just kind of test out the first day. And I've also read online people asking, like, do people typically dress up for competitions? I don't recommend it. Maybe if you're going to like one or two events only, because like going back to the walking thing, not only that, but it's a lot of sitting in a seat. And I don't know yet if TD Garden seats are comfortable, but you are there for a long period of time. And if you are uncomfortable at any point, you don't want that interfering with the experience. So, what I typically do is I'll just wear the most comfortable clothes ever. I have kind of some warm dresses that I typically wear. They're comfortable. I can't feel zippers or anything. They're not going to feel like they're sitting on my stomach uncomfortably. I feel like I can go up and down, walk along the concourse fine in them. And I also know that they are light enough to where when we go outside in the heat, because apparently it's going to be in the 70s at some point in Boston, that I will not die too much in them. So that's something also to keep in mind is when you leave the arena when it was cold, suddenly you're going to be out into the regular elements of the world. I will also sometimes wear a scarf. I never have really felt like it was that needed, but sometimes it's nice to have it on maybe for the trip there if it's cold. I have found gloves to be pretty helpful. Sometimes my hands will get pretty cold, and I usually will see kind of around the arena, people will typically wear gloves. I often wear a beanie or toboggan, whatever you guys call it. But that also is usually not something that is kind of 100% needed. I would say if you were trying to debate how much do I want to carry and fit into my tiny bag or fit into my carry on in the airport, I would prioritize mittens or gloves. And unfortunately, TD Garden, at this point, we haven't been able to kind of mobilize them into changing this rule. They don't allow you to bring water bottles, which is incredibly unfortunate. Because after a while, I notice I start to feel kind of just dehydrated in ice rink. In fact, my husband, when I was in Wichita, would every now and then remind me, like he'll text me or remind me to drink water because I tend to always go in and get my pop, my Diet Coke or Pepsi, whatever's there. But sometimes I forget to get the water. But if there is a water bottle you can bring, it makes it so much easier. And unfortunately, TD Garden's like, nope, you can go to the concessions and get a free cup of water. And I can't tell you how anxious that makes me feel. Like, I'm just imagining myself accidentally spilling it places. I mean, I'm someone who may get real excited, or someone also who thinks, oh, I can carry 70 things at once. The idea of bringing a cup of water around the concourse and to my seat, it's just high key stressing me out. Now, if they were to maybe give it into a concession cup, that might make sense. But the way they're wording it, it sounds like they hand you a cup of water. But I would say if you're planning for other competitions or thinking about the future, I would say remember to bring a water bottle. Now, I know some people can smuggle in like a collapsible water bottle, like the kind that you take while camping. I'm debating it. I want to see, though, maybe how the first day goes. In Montreal, it's hit or miss for me. On the first day, They were very much angry easily and really thorough with checking things. And at one point, I did have to demonstrate that my water bottle was indeed like not filled up. So I wanted to kind of just wait this out. I do imagine from what I've heard, though, that TD Garden is going to be pretty thorough in checking things. I also strongly recommend if you're someone like me who takes 5 million videos and photos, bring a portable charger. You can't guarantee that you'll be able to find like a plug-in to be able to charge your phone at some point. I know some places will have either things that you can walk up to and plug your phone in and charge it, or they also sometimes have where it's where you can rent a portable charger. Either way, 100% recommend it, especially if you look and see how many hours most of us will be there. And also right now, clear off some of the storage of your phone in preparation. So, some general venue rules as of March 22nd. It's hopefully subject to change, but know that we just got word that the doors open 30 minutes before all practice and event times. Keep in mind also to add to the chaos is after each event, regardless if you have all session tickets, TD Garden is requiring us all to leave the venue and come back. I will be honest, I have never been at an event where even an hour opening beforehand felt like it was enough time. Most of these events, especially I think the free dance is close to it, but most of the free skates I think are sold out. Huge venues. So that's going to be a lot of people. So everyone has to get up and leave, carry all your stuff out there, whether it is your snacks, your bags. And I don't know what their policy is going to be if you are finished with like your nachos and you want to carry it out with you and carry it back in. Something tells me that'll be a no-no. So then you have to leave, all of us leaving at once. I don't know how big the concourses are, but I know in Montreal, before and after each major event was so overwhelming and so overstimulating because there was not a whole lot of room. It was packed. So what I'm imagining is we're all in the concourse taking forever to get out because there's no quick, easy way out when there's so many crowds of people. Then maybe go watch like the small medal ceremony, which I'll tell more about here in a little bit. Then trying to make it back in time for only a 30-minute window to get in. That doesn't give anyone enough time to, in the very beginning, figure out where your seat is, go to the bathroom, which last year I remember Montreal had to convert a men's bathroom to a women's bathroom because there just wasn't enough of them. So there's lines going to be there. It doesn't give you enough time to go peruse the merchandise. Let me tell you, they're going to miss out on a lot of my impulse purchases because that's where I do my impulse purchases. If I get to the venue early, I will walk around to see something I want and go, oh my gosh, now I'm not going to have time to do that. So I get to save some money at least. There also, if there's any meet and greets, that's going to cause even more chaos into the crowding. Last year, when Nathan Chen had his meet and greet, not only were people trying to filter in and out of events, which was making the concourse crazy, like people couldn't quite figure out where did this line start, where did it end. So just this 30 minutes seems unreal to me. And then also you're not going to have time to get your snack or your drink, which means it's all going to get crowded either while the event starts. So the poor early skaters are not going to have as much people watching them, or it's going to be during the ice surfacing where you're going to miss some of the event because there's just no way that many people are going to be able to go to concessions and get back in time. And that also brings us to once you get in for an event, you cannot leave. I do not understand why they don't just give us wristbands. To me, this kind of stresses me out a bit because I'm trying to think like, how is the signal at TD Garden? Like, let's say you get an emergency phone call and you're trying to find like a quiet place to go or something happens, like you forget something at your hotel room. It is very stressful to me that once you get in, you can't go out, especially when you're thinking about trying to plan around meals. And I know at Montreal Worlds, I was so burnt out of the constant deep fried food, junk food. I think we eventually found a salad that was being sold. And finally, like one of the places that had salads opened up. But it was just exhausting kind of eating just the type of food constantly. It is going to make it more difficult to be able to get fresh food. Now, I did hear there's a little market near TD Garden. And so hopefully there'll be enough time to get something in between that way. But to me, this is going to be such utter chaos. It's going to cause, again, people to miss the first few skaters. People are going to be filtering in and out. Luckily, the rule is always you can't be going to your seat in and out when a skater is on the ice, which is I'm very fortunate for because that would be so distracting. It's just going to cause so much congestion, so much chaos. I'm not quite sure how they think they're going to pull this part off. Hopefully, by the first day, they'll be like, okay, let's try out a wristband. Let's do this. Because that's what Nationals did. And it was so nice because you could leave and come back. The whole getting held hostage thing, I do not know why, but it's really kind of stressing me out. I know I have a meeting at some point for work. And now I'm thinking I'm going to have to do what I did last year and find some random room at the venue to try to take over while I'm trying to talk about, like, hey, let's hire another testing psychologist while somebody may be like cheering for figure skating in the background. So it's going to be chaotic, low key stressed, but I know we'll get through it and it'll just be very annoying. And it's also, I'm still stuck on the fact it's going to cut down on really the ability to soak in a lot of that kind of concourse energy. That's what I love about events. Now, I know I was just talking about how stressful it was at Worlds, how packed it was, but there's also this beautiful energy of meet and greets, vendors like selling different items where there's stuff that you can throw on the ice, which we'll get into also that here in a little bit. But also you can see skaters, retired skaters, people that you haven't seen in a while. I'm hoping to catch up with some of y'all who reached out to me. I'm just hoping that this time thing doesn't prohibit that excitement and energy for a lot of people. One of the things that we were all successful about was the bag policy. Originally, they're like, you can't bring a bag. And if you do, it's a wristlet. So now they're saying that you can at least have a 14 by 14 by 6 bag, which thank goodness. And it doesn't have to be clear. I mean, they're subject to search upon entry, so it doesn't surprise me. But we're finally able to have a bag. That was one of our earlier, actually, victories. And shout out to everyone who emailed, who reached out to ISU, USFS, or anyone else to get those changes made, because that was also another stressful thing. I know this is like the world of first world problems, but to me, it's so stressful to not have a bag. I'm going to lose my credit card always. Like, I can't just have my little wallet because I'm going to lose it. Then if you buy merchandise, nothing to put that in. It was just like a first world stressor. So kudos to y'all. We could at least have a bag. So it sounds like no fancy pants cameras are allowed in, and also no recording is allowed. Now, some people were asking, can you record for personal use? I know at events I've been at, no one has stopped anyone from recording. I do know from firsthand experience that if you do record and put any of the clips on YouTube, USFS can ask you to take it down. So I would recommend, if you are wanting to make sure you're not distracting. One thing I learned during like practices that sometimes skaters will look right up at your phone if you have it out and it looks like you're recording. Probably like the ones who are just not used to as much of the limelight. Definitely do not have your flash on, and know that also you're not going to get the best video ever. So you don't have to sit there and record the whole entire thing unless you really do think you're going to watch someone's entire program again from your phone camera, because it's such a different experience watching it in person than watching it over your phone. Though there are ways to hold your phone up to where you don't have to look at your phone. But overall, no personal recording is allowed. And if you do it, just be sensible with it. So probably one of the biggest things for the Know Before You Go is the Stuffed Animal Plushie Gate 2025. So now people are allowed to bring in stuffed animals and plushies. You are allowed to bring 3 small to medium stuffed animals. And it says it must fit, or it says if possible, stuffed animals should fit in the bag size outlined in the event bag policy. So if anybody wants to fit in more plushies, let me know. I'll be around. I can help Plushygate because I know a lot of fans spent time making and gathering plushies. There's still this post on Reddit that makes me laugh where someone's like, what am I going to do with all these lobsters? So I am glad we at least won this battle because they were saying that you have to buy the stuffed animals from the venue, which we all know that would have been a money racket. So at least there's that. I'm thinking about though how I don't know if she's going to be at this event, but there's this woman who makes these beautiful crowns for the skaters, and I hope if she is going to be at the event that she will get to hand them out. As for posters, they are saying that signs 8.5 by 11 are permitted or under, and flags only from participating teams and countries will be permitted for the event. And you can't have any signs or flags of poles or sticks. Now, I do not know though, and there's nothing in any of the rules I could find saying that if your flags or your signs have to be jammed into your bag. So you may be permitted, then it seems like, to carry them in. Now, don't take my word on it. It just, there's nothing saying right now that you have to shove it into your bag. Now, I do know that seems very small, and I don't know how skaters are going to see them. I'm hoping also, of course, they may not permit this, but at nationals, they always have these little booths where you can make your own signs. And I just loved doing that. Like it was just kind of relaxing when you're around all the chaos to be making a sign for a skater. And of course, there'll be merchandise there at level 4 and level 7. Do know that the run through has made some pens, and I'm so excited to get them. It also seems like, based upon the email, that the event programs are going to be available at different locations than the merchandise. It says event programs are going to be at both sides of the main level 2 entrances and on level 4 at section 7 and 19. So it seems like once you get there, you're either going to book it to go get your program book at level 2 entrances or level 4, or you're going to book it to get your merch at level 4 and level 7. That's kind of the first time I've seen them separated. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's much faster that way. And of course, since recording this and posting on Reddit, many of y'all pointed out on Reddit that this is something that's common in events for it to be 30 minutes. I personally haven't experienced that yet, but that also that the folks at TD Garden will be pros at this, totally not thinking that they won't be. I'm just curious thinking about it from a perspective of multiple events and this occurring. And just because honestly, I have a routine every time I go to an event. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to break my routine up. I'm the type of person, like, if I'm thinking like, oh, I want to get this merch, or I want to get my drink, or I want to get XYZ, it kind of, I just, perseverate about it a little bit, but totally not thinking that this can't be done or that TD Garden won't let it be done. It's just, I'm curious to see how the 30 minutes goes. And I also get that a lot of skaters in the beginning, people don't go to see them anyway. However, I'm someone that likes to go and kind of watch the whole thing. And I know when I was at Montreal at Worlds, a lot of people also would go to almost the whole entire event. But definitely getting a lot of different perspectives on this since I first recorded. In terms of practice sessions, know that you have to have an all session ticket in order to get to go to the practices. They don't seem to be permitting people without that to buy a ticket for the practices. I also read at one point that you may not be seated in your seat at practices. That wasn't quite clear. Like they may not, there may be so many different rows that are just sectioned off. You can only go to practices that are in TD Garden. You cannot go to practices outside in the practice rink. There apparently is just not enough space there. I do think Jackie Wong is going to be at the practice rink, and I'm not sure if USFS will be streaming during that. It seems like if they're going to have Jackie over there, likely they're going to stream the event. So there will not be food open for all of the March 25th practice events. So you are permitted on that day to bring in coffee, water, and a small snack into the venue until 11 a.m. So then once the concession stands open, you are not allowed to bring in any of your snacks. And then Wednesday, during the practice times, you're allowed to bring in your food until the actual event starts. It also seems that you can re enter during practice ice sessions, but you can't during the actual competitions, or it looks like also the exhibition. So at least during practice sessions, if you're thinking, wow, I'm really wanting to try actual food outside the arena, then you can leave and come back. And what they will do also on the days where there is practice and events, which is every day but Tuesday, they will scan your tickets for both the practice and for the first event. And so then that's when you do get a wristband so that you can stay in the building. So at least there's that. Here is the practice schedule for TD Garden. The majority of the events that we will get to watch is the practice on Tuesday. I unfortunately will not get there probably actually until the end of the women's and men. And so for the rest of the week, it looks like there's only one practice per day, except on Saturday at TD Garden. Now, I've been trying to find the warm up schedule. I can't find that yet. So if you haven't attended a competition before, this used to confuse me. So not only are there practice events you can attend, but there are also warm-ups. And it really is what it sounds like. It's just an extended warm-up that is outside of the competition. And so hopefully they will have some at TD Garden, and hopefully they will come out that schedule soon. And going back to practice events, there are also what they call like practice groups. And so they do not practice in the same order that they will end up skating in during the competition. Here you can see the practice groups. So group 1s through 7. I imagine group 7 is where people are going to get the most excited. Not that there's not amazing skaters. I mean, in each group, there's multiple skaters that I'm excited to see. Not to mention, I enjoy seeing skaters that I haven't got to see that much in the first place on TV. So, and here's the women, the pairs, and the ice dance. And so when you're following this schedule, eventually, or there could already be, and I just haven't been resourceful enough to find it yet, you'll see the schedules will say like group 1, group 2 for both practice and the warm up. And you can find the official schedule online. Closer to the event, there should be a schedule more broken down of when and what times that different skaters are skating. Note that there'll be small medal ceremonies outside of TD Garden that are free to the public to join. I'm excited to see that because I don't think I've ever got to see like the small medal ceremony. So that is going to be a really cool event. They're also going to have local dance groups as well as a DJ at one point. And so that is really exciting. And it's going to be near banners. So that is really cool. So factor in the small medal ceremonies in addition to the events. Now, on Wednesday, after the women's short program, they're going to have a tribute and remembrance for the victims of the plane crash. And I believe only people with either one, an all session ticket, and 2 pair short program tickets can participate. Unfortunately, I don't think if you just have a women's short program ticket, you can participate, which is disappointing because I believe that would be something nice to kind of have the more people there. If you've never been to a competition before, note that the medal ceremony, usually what happens afterwards, you'll see kind of the victory lap. But what's not shown on TV a lot is that is when it's your prime opportunity to either take selfies with some of the skaters, get their autograph. And do note, though, that there's always this kind of hilarious window of time where they're saying you got 15 minutes before you have to be backstage for media. And I'm pretty sure they don't get there right within 15 minutes. Many of the skaters just know, you can tell that they genuinely want to be able to meet and greet their fans, but a lot of times they are whisked away. But you know that is a really kind of cool and exciting time, and not a whole lot of people will stay for either the medal ceremony, oddly enough, or even the whole ceremony. So it is just a cool touch to it. There are so many off ice events going on, and it's just really, really exciting. And that always adds to the touch of going to a figure skating event. On Thursday, there is a U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Museum dinner. It's also been referred to as Legends of Figure Skating Dinner. This right here will permit for a panel discussion, a dinner meet and greet, and if you don't already have tickets for the pairs event, you also get premium seating. This one's a little pricey. It is $400 if you're just doing the dinner, and like if you already have the tickets, and then I believe $600 if you are also getting the premium seating. Then there's Boitano's Lounge, and it actually looks a little bit different than what I've experienced in the past. If you want to watch my video, I'll link it in the side here. But it looks like at this event, they're actually including panels. And so Friday night panel is going to be Katarina Witt, Chris Yamaguchi, Linda Furtani, and Carolina Coster. And then Saturday night is going to be Olympic ice dance and pairs teams. So I think that actually adds a really cool touch to the event. It seems like it kind of adds like maybe a little bit more structure to it. I have known of just always had a really good experience inside of Boitano's Lounge, and the food and everything is just really good. And it's just a really fun experience. I'm excited to go to on Saturday is the Run Through podcast. It is a live taping and a brunch. This is going to be at Banners. I believe, unfortunately, it's already sold out. And I believe they said it was like 300 people. So that is really exciting. So I think there's also a meet and greet component to it. And at the same time, there is going to be an Asian American and Pacific Islander Learn to Skate event where there's also a meet and greet. And it's going to have Vincent Joe, the Shobatanis, Chris Yamaguchi, and Nathan Chen. And I'm still kind of debating about going to this because there's a session at 10 a.m. to 11 and then 11:50 to 1 p.m. I'm still just trying to think of the logistics of going like to the breakfast and then going to this event and then trying to get to the free dance and all that at the same time. But one, it's a fundraiser, and two, that's kind of a really cool event. I did the Learn to Skate event when they had it in Columbus. It was free at the time because it didn't have all the extra things going on, and I really enjoyed it. I felt like I learned a lot. I felt like it built my confidence. And it was just one of the few times that I get to go to a rink that's been freshly Zambonied and not have to worry about, people at the rink near me tend to enjoy falling and laughing. It's just they tend to be a little bit reckless for amusement purposes. And so it was just a really nice event. And I remember that the skates they had at the time, the rental skates were pretty decent skates. They weren't the usual type that you see where it's like hockey skates that are like a million years old. And I think I've heard that the rentals at this rink is also decent. So this event is for all ages. And if they're doing it the same way they did it when I went, they section you off, not so much by age, but a little bit by skill level. They're basically like, who knows how to skate? Who can do this? And they put you in those sections. Kimmy Rapond announced that she will be having a meet and greet at the Chic Sports Stand Saturday, March 29th from 4:45 to 6:15 p.m. Do note that when I was in Montreal, the only way for me to continuously know about different meet and greet opportunities was either by happenstance, by walking around, by word of mouth, or by looking at many of the different vendors' Instagrams. So, for example, like Jackson Skates and all of those, because sometimes things will pop up and there may not be, like a blast email. Because I just imagine things just kind of happen where someone's like, hey, let's have this meet and greet. So I would recommend just keeping your eye on things because there will be a lot of different events that are going on and planned that may not have like a blast email out. Other tools that will be your friend during this, of course, is the Discord. I have been enjoying the Discord. It is a delight. And also Reddit. That's where you can also find a lot of different information. I know that they just actually made a thread for the events as well, which is going to be super helpful. So Discord, Reddit, Blue Sky, All of those are places, and even Instagram of like businesses' stories. Those are all places I would say to keep your eye on to see if there are meet and greets going on. I'm having major FOMO of this, but I am not talented enough to do this. You know how Swifties make the bracelets? Well, there are so many bracelets being made according to the Discord that'll be passed out and traded. I am low key hoping I stumble upon a Ben Wall one, but unfortunately, I just don't have the dexterity and the patience to make a bracelet. But I love this. And I swear, I think next year I'm going to do this. I'm going to give myself time. Maybe actually I could do this. Like, do this on the plane. I'm going to end up buying a damn bead kit and making like either no bracelets or one attempt. Either way, I kind of want to join in on this, but I just know myself. But this is a really cool thing. So if you're wanting to get in on that, either go to the Discord or just ask around when you see people like passing out the bracelets. I love this. It adds such a cool touch to these events. There are also many collaborations that you will get to experience either at TD Garden or around in Boston. At TD Garden, and I think it's only for this event, so I don't know if you can buy it online, USFS teamed up with Lily Sadugi to make these headbands. The one I'm leaning towards, although I've heard they're probably like in the 200s or 100s to 200s, is the one that's inspired by Madison Chalk's free dance. I would love to have a headband just like Queen Maddie Chalk. Castle Beer came out with a collaboration called Creative Execution. And it seems like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's only on tap in South Boston, maybe in Norwood. I've been trying to figure out if it's going to be close to TD Garden. Even left a comment on their Facebook. I haven't heard anything yet. I would love to try it, and it'd be really cool also if it was sold in TD Garden. But $1 from every pint is going to go to the U.S. Figure Skating Family Support Fund. JP Lix came out with an ice cream that is called the World Swirl, and it has blue cake batter ice cream with marshmallow swirl. It looks like the closest JP Lix to TD Garden. Might be about an 18-minute walk. It's like 0.6 miles. Let me know if there's one closer. I would love to try this. I may even see if like DoorDash can DoorDash it. I just really love how there's all these different collaborations. Like that goes to show just the excitement and the buildup for Worlds that is going on for a sport that like not a lot of people follow. And of course, if you have time to leave the ice rink and look around Boston, I know that I really loved, I think it was like the North End. It is more like the Little Italy type of neighborhood and just so much good food there. There was a line at the door last time I went to Boston for, I think it was like Mike's Pastries. I've been reading though, a lot of people in the Discord we're talking about many different bakeries. A major popular one that people are talking about was called Bova's. I've never tried it, but I bet it's really delightful. And Boston is also known for having Irish food as well. I haven't got to go to any Irish pubs in Boston, but I would love to try some. So give me some tips about where to eat. My time in Boston has usually been kind of in and out. Like I'll go to an event and then leave, or when I went to Skate America, that was more outside of Boston, and went to Summer Sizzler, that was outside of Boston a little bit. So give me some tips. I would love to try something different. All right, y'all. I am so excited for Worlds. All I have to do is work on Monday, frantically pack. I'm actually, for the first time, going to check a bag because I know my existence when it comes to souvenirs. Not only will there be stuff to buy, there's another tidbit here. There'll be also some free stuff. Like sometimes you'll see things where you can like spend something. That's how I ended up getting a St. Louis Nationals bag. So I just want to have enough room to have everything like that possible. And if y'all want to meet up, leave me a comment here. Reach out to me on Blue Sky also, or whatever, social media that you use that way, just in case, like if we make plans and then chaos happens with the in and out situation of TD Garden, we can reach out to one another. I am so excited though. This is a figure skater's dream. And what's also exciting, it's not exactly the end of the season because we still have World Team Trophy. So we won't have the initial crash of sadness, but it's almost here. It's like Christmas. All right, y'all. Hopefully, this stuff will still be up to date and won't be outdated by the time this posts. But do keep checking ISU's World's website because things can always change. But I'm so excited, y'all. See y'all next time.